What's going on, guys? Tony Maritato here, and in this video I want to answer a question that came in the Facebook group from Janine. I guess I've never really talked about this. So Janine was asking about how I like to set up a clinic, basically how I set up the equipment in the clinic to kind of promote a hybrid practice model. So it's absolutely dependent on you, the clinician, if you're the one treating patients, or your staff. I can tell you that I tend to set things up differently based on whoever the primary clinical team is. So for example, for myself, I like a community setting. If I'm setting up a clinic that I'm going to be working in, that I'm going to spend most of my time, I'm going to tend to arrange things very specifically. And so to answer your question, I'll try to find some pictures of the inside of my clinic, but I tend to put the cardio equipment, so whether we're talking treadmill, stationary bike, elliptical, cross trainer, whatever, I put them around the perimeter. I put them facing out. Now, everybody kind of expects me to put them facing in so I can see the faces of the patients and the wellness members and the self-pay clients, but in reality, I turn them facing out because I want to see the time. I want them to talk to each other and look out the window. And so pre-COVID, you know, they were close enough that people could communicate. And I always introduce clients to each other upon arrival. So for example, in one of my clinics, I've got a cross trainer. What do I have? A cross trainer, a recumbent bike, a stationary bike, a UBE, another elliptical, and another stationary bike or treadmill. I set the machines up so that I can easily access from either side, but they're close enough that two individuals can talk to each other. The reality is my clientele is not young, they're not fit, they're not ultra marathoners. So most of my equipment never even gets turned on. And this is another kind of point. I don't spend hardly any money on equipment. When I buy a stationary bike, most of the time I'm buying it off of eBay or Craigslist. Half the time it doesn't work at all, but it's a stable, sturdy, commercial grade or high-end home bike. I just don't need it to turn on. I don't need it to work. I don't care if it functions and powers up or not. If my client is high enough level that I need to add resistance to a recumbent bike, I'm going to take them off the recumbent bike and put them on something more beneficial, right? So it's one of those things where I can pick up, I think I have like a Tetrix Cybex recumbent bike that would normally be a couple $1,000s. I think I got it for like 250 or 300 bucks. It doesn't power on, but it's super sturdy. I can put an individual who weighs 300, 350 pounds on it. It's not going to budge. So I know I've got the safety, and I'm really just using it for movement. I'm not using it for cardiovascular conditioning. So anyway, I tend to face my cardio out toward the windows so that my clients can, you know, look at nature. We have some bird feeders set up and different things, but close enough to each other that they can communicate. When I'm bringing one patient into the clinic, if there's another client there, either physical therapy patient or wellness or some combination, I introduce them. Hey, Bob, this is Jerry. Jerry's first day here with us. Jerry, this is Bob. You guys should talk to each other because I think you have a lot of things in common. And then I let them just start talking while I'm going to do other stuff. From a treatment perspective, I tend to keep my plinths kind of in one section of the gym, but I keep everything out in the gym. So it's a 2,000 square foot facility. My space is. The entire building, the main building we have is like 10,500 square feet, but my specific space, 2,000 square feet. I've got 3 plinths out in the gym. I don't have a plinth in my treatment room most of the time because I'm not going to do anything on a plinth in an exam room. I'm going to do everything out in the open. The manual therapy that I do it either seated or on the plinth, but over the clothing, fully dressed. I'm doing it to facilitate exercise. I usually have 3 plinths. The one in the middle is always empty, and I'm always really aware I don't want two patients laying facing each other, right? Even on separate plinths. So I'll make sure that I've got them so that one's facing one way, one's facing the other. They're never in kind of a weird, awkward, personal space position. I tend to use really expensive, like, furnishings around the area because, again, my clientele, even those who are self-pay, they're not coming to me for a high-end experience, right? I'm kind of the family-owned diner where you're gonna get coffee served black in a mug that probably has a chip in it, right? It'll be clean, but it might have a chip out of it. Whereas in some of the more metro areas, you're gonna have high-end furnishings. It's gonna be $300 for a reception chair and really, really, really beautiful stuff. My clients tend to get a little bit uncomfortable if it looks too nice in the clinic. So I just keep things really low level, really low key. In terms of my strength equipment, I've got it kind of sporadic around the perimeter of the clinic, and then in the center I usually have a device, kind of the key device that I'm going to use. For me, it's like a dual cable unit because I do a lot of functional stuff on that. And then I just always make sure that I have walkways and paths because I want people moving, right? People getting on the ground, people getting up, people carrying stuff. I love hallways because that replaces parallel bars for me. If somebody's going to walk and they've got a little bit of a balance issue, I want them to be able to touch the wall and kind of do things like that. I use wooden planks for balance beams. I use these little $3 tire shocks for calf stretch. Like, I run an exceptionally economically efficient clinic because the less money I spend on equipment, the less patient volume I have to do to pay for that equipment, right? I'd rather make $50,000 net profit and cut expenses than have a super high-end experience but then have to see that many more patients. So that's kind of the way I do it, but that is me. I like a clinic with life and vibrancy and people around it and people talking to each other. Again, before COVID, I would love to have a 2,000 square foot space with 5, 6, 7 people in it, some doing therapy, some doing wellness, some doing covered maintenance, golf performance, whatever, but all of them interacting with each other. All of them coming to see each other as much as they're coming to see me. That is kind of the culture, the community that I try to build in all of my clinics since we started back in 2001. Keep in mind, I started all cash-based. I started as a personal trainer turned physical therapist. So a lot of what the principles that I borrowed from were things that made Curves, the fitness franchise, so successful. Things that made CrossFit, the fitness franchise, so successful, the licensing business. It's finding a community, understanding the culture, understanding what drives them to enjoy the time that they're going to spend with you so that, potentially if they have to come back, they want to come back. It's not a chore, it's an opportunity. But Janine, I hope that kind of answers your question. I go very low cost. I can probably truthfully open a 2,000 square foot clinic. I could probably do it for under 20,000. Computers and printers and all of that stuff, office furnishings, all used, all secondhand. I just cannot imagine why I would buy or lease a $3,000 treadmill when I can get a $500 treadmill that's going to work just fine for my population. And again, look at a company like LA Fit. Look at Planet Fitness. Look at Planet Fitness with several hundred thousands of dollars in equipment costs and a $10 membership per month, and then compare that to a CrossFit box that's charging $250 a month for you to work in a warehouse with a barbell and a rack, right? It's never what you expect. So understand your clients, understand your culture, build the patient experience around that, Because you're all great therapists, right? Any one of you can have a piece of rubber band and a little bit of floor space and do anything in the world that needs to be done. The equipment, the furniture, the decor, all of that is simply just there for show. You know, last part, if you guys are still watching, the last part of this, which I think is funny. I can remember being down in South Florida, being in Sarasota on Siesta Key, a very affluent community. I opened my personal training studio for the very first time. I remember potential clients walking in the door, looking at the 800 square feet that I had with 2 or 3 pieces of equipment and being like, how can you help me? You don't have any equipment. And that's when the light went on, that it was like, I know I don't need equipment, but they don't know. So I would go out and start buying used equipment purely for the decoration. Like I needed stuff to put in there so they thought we could help them, even though I never used the equipment. Hence, I would buy broken equipment that looked expensive because I was never going to use it anyway. True story. And I can tell you that to this day, I would go out and I'd buy some circuit equipment and some junk that I'm probably never going to use just to take up floor space and make the clinic look like the patient would expect it to look. So guys, it's funny, I totally forgot about that, but I hope that was helpful. I hope that answered your question, and I'd love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments, what do you value? What is the patient experience you are providing? Are you looking at high-end finishes? Are you looking at a $5,000 high-low table instead of a $40 workout bench from Walmart? Because I've replaced the $6,000, $5,000 high-low table with a $40 workout bench from Walmart. All right, guys, I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks so much for watching.